Good evening, everyone. I'm opening the meeting of the Bristol Township Planning Commission. I'm going to welcome our viewing audience and those in attendance. First, I'm going to ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'm going to ask you to remain standing. To keep our minds, keep in your minds our troops that are in harm's way, our prisoners of war, our killed in action, our missing in action, for all those suffering from all these terrible wars, tragedies, and disasters, for the children who are separated from their parents, any personal intentions you may have. Thank you very much. So we have 4 items on our agenda this evening, but first we will start with consideration of approval of the minutes from December 3rd Planning Commission meeting. Commissioners, you had a copy of those minutes. You've had an opportunity to review them. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you to commissioners. Second item for consideration is the April 1st, 2025 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Commissioners, you've had those minutes to review. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, commissioners. The first item on our agenda this evening is a sketch plan. And this also LLC, 367 West Woodland Avenue, Pendle, is requesting sketch plan approval to construct a 3,000 square foot industrial building on a 31.210 square foot lot on the property located at 59 Runway Road, Levittown. Parks tax parcel number 05-070-041-007 in an M1 light manufacturing zone district. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Scott Mill.
Scott?
Scott Mill. I'm a landscape architect with Van Cleef Engineering Associates who prepared the plans.
And good evening, Scott.
Good evening. With me tonight is George Lamb, who is the owner of Endis Also LLC, the owner of the property, as well as East Coast Propane, the tenant of the property.
And good evening,
Scott,
sir.
is your microphone on green?
Oh, it was red.
We
There
can
go.
hear you. It's just for
Okay.
for the TV people.
Gotcha. Is that better? Okay. So Van Cleef Engineering, we prepared the plan, the sketch plan before you. We're here to get some general feedback as we're looking to move forward into engineering the proper project and, making sure we go down the right path with it and knowing how to approach certain aspects. On the screen before you is the site outlined in yellow, kind of centrally located in the aerial. As mentioned, it's zoned M1, or light manufacturing. The existing use is an F9, fuel storage and distribution, which is permitted as a special exception. It did receive the special exception back in 2017, so it has been in existence and being used since that time as a propane storage and distribution. There's an existing large tank at the rear of the property, as well as several other tanks with storage capability and small tanks that would be used for residential customers. There are also vehicles on the site, which are the tanker trucks used to distribute and take the propane gas to supply the residential and non-residential consumers. The property is about 31,000 square feet in size and fronts along Runway Road, as you see here. You can also see, aside from the woodlands behind and surrounding on the left side of the property, we're in an industrial zoned area, industrial uses. So this is a use that fits in with its surroundings. And what's being proposed is a 3,000 square foot building, which Mr. Lamb would like to basically take some of what's outside and bring it inside. Essentially some of his vehicles, he's got many, like I said, tanks on the property. He'd like to bring those inside as well. Nearly the entire property is compacted stone, so it's impervious already. So with the building, we would be basically swapping one type of impervious for another, so there would be no additional impervious. The entire site is fenced with a gate that accesses out to Runway Road for vehicular access, ingress and egress. Thank you. There's an existing shed out towards the front of the property, as well as a couple of storage containers. Those would be removed as part of this application and replaced again by the building that's shown here in the light shaded gray. We are also proposing 3 parking spaces that would be paved to allow for ADA accessibility for the drivers accessing the building. This is not a place where a retail customer is going to be coming or general public at all. It's solely for the purposes of Mr. Lamb and maybe 3, 4 employees who will be coming, dropping off their personal vehicles, loading up a truck if it hasn't been unloaded already, and going out for their distribution routes. Again, there's no customer interaction or retail type of interaction where there are selling of the propane tanks or propane gas, anything like that. Similar to how it operates today. There would be a couple of garage doors on the back of the building where the vehicles could access from the site here at the existing gate, come around and access the building from that point of view. And the idea is to, like I said, bring a lot of the tanks in and the vehicles in under cover to protect them from the weather, as well as give Mr. Lamb a little more maneuverability within the yard itself to get in and around and to gain access to the tank in the back. At this point, it's kind of it in a nutshell about the project. If you have any questions, otherwise we have received some review letters, most notably Mr. Schroeder's letter. I would like to discuss a few items in that.
That'll be fine.
Okay. So, Mr. Schroeder's letter, I would characterize, it's about 7 pages long. I would characterize most of the comments related to this being a sketch, and information we'll need to provide more detail, more engineering-related items as we proceed with the preliminary final plans. There are a couple of comments that are in the letter that I'd like to discuss with you. If there are any others that you have seen, let me know. But some of the comments are more towards how we're dealing with the site as we move forward, and possible items of relief we would be looking for in terms of waivers. So if you have the letter in front of you, on the second page under the subdivision land development ordinance review, B2 talks about the nature of Runway Road and that it is a collector, requires a width of 40 feet or a half width of 20 feet, requires curbs, sidewalks, things of that nature. In keeping with the surroundings and the nature of that industrial development where there are no curbs along the street, there are no sidewalks, we'd be seeking, relief or waivers from providing the curbing and sidewalk. The cartway is from center line to the general edge of paving is already 20 feet, plus then there's also an 8-foot wide shoulder. So there is a significant width there to accommodate any vehicles, or if anybody does, for whatever reason, want to walk along the road, has the capability of doing so without severe risk with vehicular traffic. The second item that we would be looking for relief from is on page 3, also under B, then 8, requiring curbing around all parking lots. Again, the entire parking area is compacted stone. The site is fairly flat, and it'd be a challenge if we were to curb the parking area, in that we would then be confining and channelizing stormwater runoff to certain points, whereas right now it just kind of sheet flows off the site and there's no erosion associated with it, whereas if we curbed it and channelized it, then it would become a concentrated flow, issues with erosion would arise. Or then we'd be looking at installing inlets at some of the low points, or creating low points to then install inlets. And the concern there is the site, like I said, is flat, it's also low, and the challenge would be the discharge points of those inlets, you know, because you've got the water running at the surface, it drops down into the pipe, then that pipe's got to be low enough. But the surrounding area is already basically at the same height as the site itself, so there's really nowhere to discharge that. So that would be a difficult thing that we would be looking for a waiver from providing that. Number 10 requires that the parking area be paved. We are proposing the area of the 3 parking spaces that would be used for vehicular parking, including an ADA space. We are proposing those to be paved, as well as an area between the parking and the building for ADA accessibility into the building. So that area would be paved. However, the rest of it we would prefer to keep in stone as it is today, and not need to pave it. And based on Mr. Lamb's use of the property, it's not necessary that it be paved. Number 12 on the same page requires sidewalks on the one side of the road, so it would be out along Runway Road. Again, there's no sidewalks in the area. The character of that industrial development, there's not much in terms of pedestrian walking, so we would be asking for a waiver from that as well. And the last item I have is on page 4, comment 22, relates to showing information surrounding the site. Typically, you know, if we're tying into public utilities that are far away, it makes more sense. In a situation like this, we're pretty much self-contained, and a lot of times we'll, in lieu of that information, we'll provide an aerial photograph, and that typically is satisfactory, and that's what we'd be looking to do here. So kind of a partial waiver or a waiver from that requirement. So that's all I have. If there are any other comments in Mr. Schroeder's letter that you'd like to discuss, I'd be more than happy to. If you have any questions, you know, specifically related to East Coast Propane operations, like I said, Mr. Lamb's here. He could better address those than I could.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioners, does anyone have any questions or comments? No. Okay, well, we certainly appreciate your presentation, and we look forward to seeing you come again when you go to further this project. So other than that, Bob, do you have anything? Kurt?
I would just say let's get together, we could go through the waivers you discussed, and you know, we can add them to the plan. A lot of them are typical ones that we've supported in the past. So if you're educated in the development, feel free to reach out, and we can discuss anything further.
Very good. Thank you. And our next step, we're scheduled to go in front of Township Council in a couple weeks to review same presentation. So
Okay, well, good luck.
thank you.
John, do we make a motion to approve this, or like we just
No,
would?
it's
Oh,
on the
okay.
sketch plan. There's
That's what I
nothing we
figured,
can-
okay.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is a subdivision. Michael and Sharon Leo, 1210 3rd Avenue, Croydon, tax parcel number 05-011-044, is requesting preliminary subdivision approval to subdivide the existing parcel into 2 lots at the above noted location in an R3 residential zone district. Do we have a representative here?
Hello, I am Justin. I'm with Bustamante Engineers.
Good evening, Justin. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Blessed. Got another day.
I am the plan preparer here. I do have the engineer of record with me back here, my boss, Greg Bustamante, owner of Bustamante Engineers. And I also have Mike and Sharon, their daughter and son-in-law.
Good evening, folks.
All involved with this project. Would anyone like to stand up and give a short overview of their property that they've lived at?
You gotta come to the podium and speak, thank you.
My husband and
So please identify yourself. Thank you very much.
Sharon Leo.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry about that. My husband and I bought the property back in 1999, and because it was so big and it was back by the woods and everything, we fell in love with it. Now, I never really had a home, so when I saw the property, and being that it had like an in-law trailer back there, plus the house, I thought this would be great in case ever any of my kids ever needed to come back home, to have a home to live in. And after we moved in, a year after we moved in, my one daughter, Colleen, moved into the trailer up until 2016, and then Sarah moved in, and it's been great because I can offer them a home without having any problems. And I am getting older, my husband's getting older, and it would be great to continue to have them next door in case of an emergency or anything. And not eight, but 6 of my grandkids have grown up there, and they're out on their own now, pretty much. And I just would like it to stay the way it is, just give them a better chance to have a home that they want on
Well,
the same property.
Thank you very much for that praise. And I know it's a little emotional. It's okay.
I'm sorry.
So we're going, no,
Don't be
that's,
sorry,
don't be
absolutely
sorry.
not.
That family's all about family. I understand that. So if we can get into the concept of the subdivision, please. Thank you.
So as it was briefly stated there, if we can see here, there's an existing 2-story dwelling that is being utilized, and there's also a mobile dwelling in the back there with a detached garage towards the middle. So I'm not sure the date on the dwelling in the back, but this will be the subject property. All of this will be the subject property, but back here will be where that development happens with a new proposed building within it. Next slide, please. We do have a list of requested waivers for this. I will get into the existing site plan in a little bit and the proposed site plan. But we're asking for the waiver of the widening of cartways. There will be a portion of that was requested by the engineers be widened for 2-lane traffic.
And if I, excuse me for a second, and my memory's not the greatest, sometimes I forget. What was your name again?
Justin?
Justin. So Justin, I'm going to ask you, when you refer to these different items, please refer to the numbers listed.
Okay.
Thank you.
So section 17735B, that is, there will be a portion of it widened as per requested from the township engineers. And the reasoning for the request for partial waiver is the remainder of the existing lot's frontages are not proposed to be widened. The widening these cartways would require the removal of 11 large trees and or stumps, with no other portions of the vicinity along River Road and 3rd Ave containing the widths required by the township. Section 17739 requires cul-de-sacs at dead ends. We'll be able to quickly see that there's just not ample space for a cul-de-sac to be built in the area. We have proposed that a turnaround area is installed at the end of the dead end that is on 3rd Avenue. Section 17743A requires sidewalks along street frontages. The immediate vicinity and the neighborhood in the area, there are no other sidewalks there. That would also require the removal of the 11 large trees and stumps. Section 17745A is requesting relief for curbing along street frontages. There is no existing curbing along street frontages, as well as installing those would require harm to those trees, very large trees at that. And again, I have some photos in here that'll show you that. Section 17751A requires street trees along street frontages. For the new property, we refer to it as Lot 2. We're requesting a partial waiver for 1, as we're not able to meet 2 along that frontage there because we have so many utilities that need to be tied into, and the utilities would become damaged over time as that tree matures. And section 17793A.1 requires the plan to be drawn at a 1 inch equals 50 scale, 50-foot scale. The plan would, if I were to try to meet those requirements, the plan would be illegible. The lot itself, the base area is 0.554 acres. And I just would not be able to give a good product to meet those requirements. So the existing site here, again, the 2-story stone dwelling. Mike and Sharon live here. And then in the back here is the dwelling, which will be the subject area here. If you can see here, we have a a thick dashed line right there. There was originally 2 premises on this property prior to Mike and Sharon owning it. We are proposing to put a property boundary right back on that premises line. I'm not sure when that was recorded there. So some removal along or within the Lot 1, which is the 2-story dwelling here. There is a small little carport area that is to be removed to meet zoning requirements. And then in the back here, there will be removal of the mobile dwelling back here, as well as a small shed, which really just doubles as a carport. So that will be removed, and what is proposed is a 1,920 square foot, 1.5-story dwelling with a attached garage that is 625 square feet here. There will be sidewalk connecting to the proposed driveway, which in turn connects to the garage here, and there will be an extension of the roadway to give a clear in and out of this driveway here. Unfortunately, that light there is a little tough for you to see, but there is a hatched area here, which is the addition or expansion of that roadway, meeting the cul-de-sac requirements for a turnaround, a hammerhead. So if I can, I'll ask for the next slide, please. Next slide, please. This one? Or this one? Okay, thank you. So here I do have a photo facing southward. This is that we're standing here but facing the opposite way towards a bunch of wooded area which is owned by the Commonwealth. They are neighboring the Commonwealth property, which then abuts directly to the Delaware. You can see here there's some arborvitae. We have some neighbors parked here. This is where that hammerhead will be installed. This is facing 3rd Ave, facing north here. As you can see, it would be tough to widen this roadway as their neighbors across the street on 3rd Avenue utilize this area for parking. As well as there is no existing sidewalk and curbing on this side, and over on this
God
side.
bless you.
On this side, we do have very, very large trees. I don't think photos really do it justice how large these trees are. So removing those in order to install sidewalks, curbing, as well as widening of the roadway would I think it would take away from the character of the neighborhood and the street there, which is, again, a dead end and secluded area for 3 of these houses here on 3rd Avenue. Up a little bit further along 3rd Avenue, just showing you, the neighbors have some nice planting beds there. This area is used sometimes for parking, and here's another driveway here. There is actually a utility pole that you can see in the right there, and then also capturing more of those very large trees as you're starting to approach River Road here. This is at the intersection of 3rd Ave and River Road, kind of giving you an idea of what the neighborhood looks like. No sidewalks, no curbing. When I got to be out there, it was a beautiful day. Birds were chirping, very wooded in that area there. And again, as you can see that these roads, they're all pretty consistent in size, in width. And then this is facing the opposite way at that same intersection. As you can see, even more large trees along River Road, and this is the subject parcel on our left over here. So that's along all frontage of this property are beautiful mature trees. The neighbors over here utilize this as a parking area across the street, and again, going to show no curbing and no sidewalks, and the width of the roads remain pretty uniform throughout. If there are any questions at this time regarding the plans or the waivers.
Thank you, Justin. Commissioners, you've heard the presentation. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Can I
Okay.
just make one quick comment?
I was going to get to you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
So,
prior to the meeting, I noticed there's the extension of the roadway. Would you allow a condition to get authorization from the neighbor on the other side of the road widening to acknowledge the extension of the road?
Yes, I think we can have a conversation about that area over there getting widened and how it impacts the neighbors across the street.
I have no other comments.
thank you. So I kind of jumped the gun there because Bob, do you have anything? Kurt? Anyone else?
Negative.
Okay. All right, I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion. A motion to approve Michael and Sharon Leo, 1210 3rd Avenue, Croydon, tax parcel number 05-011-044 for preliminary subdivision approval to subdivide the existing parcel into 2 lots of the approved noted location in an R3 residential zone district with waivers of the following. Section 177-35B. A waiver is requested to allow the existing cartway widths along the 3rd Avenue and River Road to remain, with conversation with
The neighbors.
the neighbor. Number 2, section 177-39. A waiver is requested for the requirement that requires cul-de-sac streets as opposed to dead-end roads. Number 3, Section 177-43A, waiver is requested from the requesting that requires the sidewalks at street frontages. Number 4, Section 177-45A, waiver is requested for the requirement that requires curbing at street frontages. Number 5, Section 177-51A, waiver is requested from the requirement that requires street trees along street frontages. And finally, number 6, Section 177-93A, parentheses 1, a waiver is requested from the requirement that requires the plan to be drawn at a scale 1 inch equals 50 feet and shall be clear and legible print to add for the consideration and approval of council.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Don't ever be sorry for showing your emotion, okay? Thank you for coming out tonight.
Good luck with it.
Bristol. Tax parcel number 05-075-257 and 05-075-257-003 in a C commercial zone district.
Good evening. I'm Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin here tonight on behalf of John Beck. I have Mr. Beck with me, and to my left I have Brian Binney, who's going to go over the plan that's
I'm
before
sorry,
you in
let
a
me have your
minute.
name again.
Mike McGinnis.
Mike, thanks, Mike.
Absolutely. So we're here to discuss a lot line change which pertains to 3 separate parcels in the township, which are located on or about 7985 Bristol Pike. They are located all in the commercial district. And as you can see, and as Brian will get into in a moment, the existing features plan depicts the current orientation of the 3 lots, and there is a current lot line which actually bisects one of the buildings on the property. So we're really doing this, I would submit, to correct some existing deficiencies in terms of the layout and orientation of these sites. In addition to the existing features plan that you see, there also used to be an exit ramp to Route 13 and Haynes Road, which was located between 2 of the parcels that are
Mike,
before
by
you.
any chance, do you have a pointer?
I do.
Thank you.
I think we have 3, actually. Yeah, so this is what I was referencing before. The existing features shows how one of the buildings on site is split based upon the current property configuration. And then there was an exit ramp which basically cut through the parcels in this direction, which was vacated in 2017, I believe. We have the documentation supporting that. So what you have currently are 3 parcels. I'm going to call them A, B, and C. And we have no site work whatsoever proposed with this application. But what we're looking to do at the end of the day is to create a more regularly configured orientation with the 3 lots. So there's 3 before, there's going to be 3 after. But if you look at the county mapping system, these lots are going to actually make sense in a way that they don't right now. Most of the waivers, which we're going to get to in a second, relate to the fact that there is no site work that we're proposing. So we're asking the Planning Commission and the township to be mindful of that and consider that with the grant of the waivers. And then I'd also note that we did go to the zoning hearing board back in February of this year. There were a few variances that we needed to obtain based upon, again, the existing conditions on site, and we were able to procure those variances a few months ago. So I'm going to have Brian just do a brief walkthrough of what we're, I guess, the before and after of the lot line change, and then he and I will kind of go through the waiver requests and answer any questions the Planning Commission has in a moment.
That'll be fine. Mike.
Thank you.
Good evening. It's good to
Good
see
evening,
you guys
Brian.
again. Mike kind of covered it all pretty much. If you're familiar with the road, and I'm sure you are, you'll understand on the corner of Haynes Road, there's a red building, and the existing property line is about 4 feet from the existing building. So part of this is to move that property line further away from that building, so that'll correct that, variance that would need for that building.
And that's because you don't want to share the building, right? You don't want to split it in half.
This was just because the Becks own all these lots, these 2 lots and this lot.
Right.
And so over time, the family has just expanded their business and they kind of just ignored the property lines because they owned them all.
Right.
So we're here, like Mike said, to try and correct those bad things that happened in the past. And there's no proposed changes to the use. There's no proposed changes to the driveways. There's no proposed changes to anything out there other than to move a couple lines on a piece of paper. And as Mike indicated, because of that, and there's no proposed improvements, there's a number of variances that we're requesting.
Okay.
Go through with Brian, just for record-keeping purposes, the waivers that we're seeking this evening. And I'll note, this is, you just saw the existing features plan. This will be the post-approval, post-recording new orientation. So you'll see instead of this compressed lot here, that's expanded to provide more area, and the lot line won't be as close. And then where there used to be a lot line which split this building, that's corrected. So now you have 3 different buildings on 3 different lots in more normally configured rectangular positions. The waivers that we're seeking, we have a waiver request from 177-14E, which is requesting preliminary final approval in tandem.
What number was that?
177-14E.
We're working off 177.42.B.
That's a Kirk's letter. This is what's in my packet.
All right.
Mike, I think it'd be easier if you work off of Gilmore. 'cause
Yeah,
we
I'm
didn't get a waiver.
referencing, I guess we can go to the Gilmore review letter dated April 16th, 2025, and we'll just reference those waiver requests, although I think there's a couple small typographical issues there. We'll go down the list here. 177-42B, Mr. Greer, is the first waiver that you were referencing,
Right.
which is to not require the submission of a lighting plan. And that again relates to the fact that A, we're not improving the site whatsoever, and that there is already existing lighting in this area. We have a waiver request to not require sidewalk to be installed along Route 13, and that is 177-43A and 177-66. And then we have a waiver request to not require street lights along Route 13 in the intersection of Route 13 and Haynes Road at 177-44, and then what I think was intended to be 177-64. And then on the next notation, I think that was supposed to be 177-51A, which is a waiver request to not require street trees to be planted. And then a waiver request from 177-51B relating to buffer area between the existing buildings and the rear of the property. This is the Delaware Canal, which is, as you can see, based upon the improvements, fairly compressed with the current building locations. And then finally, 177-91, which is a waiver request to permit the plans being drawn to scale other than what's mandated in the ordinance. Brian, you have anything you want to add? Go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to, the review letter of Gilmore's review letter, all the zoning requirements will comply, with the exception of, I have a question about the buffer area required for the Delaware Canal. The way I read the ordinance, it says that the buffer area is required if there's new development or an expansion of an existing development, and since we're not expanding this development in any way, I don't know that that's applicable.
Yeah, we would agree with that. I think the comment is to show that setback on the plan.
Oh, the setback, yes, but
And if you want to just label it as like an existing nonconformity also, we could do that as well.
great.
Everything else is a will comply.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, you've heard the presentation. Do you have any comments or questions? Bob? Kurt?
I have nothing further.
Thank you. All right, Commissioners, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to recommend to council the subdivision of John and Darlene Beck, 322 Thornridge Drive, Levittown, requesting prelim and final subdivision approval for a lot change at the property located at 7985 Bristol Pike, Bristol, tax parcels number 05-075-257 and number 05-075-257-003 in a C commercial zone district, along with the 6 waivers requested in the April 16th Gilmore and Associates letter in section 4.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Our next item on the agenda is subdivision. New Horizon Property Management, Inc., 1909 Veterans Highway, Bristol, is requesting preliminary and final subdivision approval to construct 7 single-family detached dwellings with stormwater management on the property located at 1020 Ann Street, Croydon, tax parcel number 05-053-034 and 05-053-035 in an R-3 residential zone district.
Good evening, Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin, here on behalf of the applicant.
Good to see you again.
Good evening again,
Wow,
Mike.
thank you, good evening. My client is the applicant and property owner of the property located at 1020 Ann Street in the township. Currently consists of 2 parcels, parcel number 5-53-34 and 5-53-35. The parcels are zoned in the R3 district. In the aggregate, they total approximately 56,000 square feet. The smaller of the 2 lots is around 12,500 square feet in its current configuration, and the larger of the 2 lots is just over 43,000 square feet. The parcels are currently vacant, and our proposal this evening is to consolidate the 2 parcels and then subdivide the parcels to develop 7 residential single-family detached dwellings. As you can see on the plan before you, the 3 parcels to the plan north are to be accessed by, here, see if that one doesn't work. There you go.
Thank you.
So-
Pointers are good.
We'll replace this
That's
one.
for the, actually for the ability of our viewing audience to understand what you're talking about.
Absolutely. So by plan north, I'm indicating these 3 parcels are going to be accessed off of Ann Street, and then you have these 4 parcels to the plan south, which would be accessed off of Emily Avenue. The homes, once they're constructed, will be serviced by public water and sewer. There's stormwater management system, which is depicted on the site plan and consists primarily of an infiltration trench along the rear yards of the parcels as well as along the side yards of 3 of the lots. Most of the lots are between 5,800 square feet in size and 6,900 square feet, with the exception of lot number 7. If you see a reference to lot 7 in the review letters or its reference this evening, we're discussing this larger lot here, which is significantly larger than the 5,800 square feet to 6,900 square foot range. Our project engineer, Larry Byrne, has been in correspondence with Gilmore Associates in Kurt's office as well as DEP. We have a letter from Gilmore, which in addition to the standard subdivision land development letter, is also dated May 21st, which provides a basically an analysis of the H&H study, which was submitted as part of this development. We have essentially I think, only 4 subdivision and land development comments in the entirety of the letter, with the exception of the waivers that we're requesting. I would suggest at the outset that the waivers that we have are essentially limited to the request to not install sidewalk and curbing based upon the lack of the existence of those features in the immediate vicinity, and everything else is what you would see as a standard residential waiver for a subdivision. And I'll walk through those momentarily. I will also note that to my left I have Dominic Chilberti, who's here on behalf of the applicant and owner in case there's any questions regarding the site moving forward. I will then reference and turn to page 2 of the Gilmore letter dated May 21st and note the 7 waivers that we are requesting as part of this development. There is a waiver that we're requesting from 177-14E to permit the approval simultaneously of preliminary and final development approval. There is a waiver request from 177-35, which is requesting a waiver for cartway widening, curbs, and sidewalks along the frontage on Emily and Ann Street. There is a waiver request from 177-43A, which is a requirement to provide sidewalks along the property frontage of Emily Avenue and Ann Street. So again, sort of covered by the last number, but just for record-keeping purposes. There is also a waiver request from 177-45A, which is a requirement to provide curbing along the property frontage on Emily and Ann Street, again, which is sort of an echo of the 177-35 waiver. There is a waiver request from 177-48D3, which is minor grading within 5 feet of a property line. Again, I will note for the record that we are not encroaching on a neighboring property owner, so we're just...
If you don't mind using your pointer and showing where you're what you're talking about.
Yeah, so we have an obligation to not... There's a waiver request if you're going anywhere closer than 5 feet from a property boundary to do any sort of installation of stormwater facilities or any other site work. So we, sometimes when that's requested, there's a concern that we would have to enter onto a different property owner to facilitate those improvements, and that's not the case. So we are going to be fully contained within our property boundary. We're just going to be within the 5-foot limit.
Okay.
And then we have a waiver request to, again, just like the last application, for the plan scale at 1:20 instead of 1:50 or 1:100, and that is 177-91A1, 177-92A1, and then finally a waiver request from 177-91C3 and 177-92C3, which is an existing features waiver. So we've submitted documentation to, obviously in accordance with this application, we're requesting a waiver to not provide existing features within 200 feet of the property. I will also note, just for the record as well, that there is not going to be anything other than an HOA. There's not going to be a roadway that's dedicated to the township, interior to the development, because a lot of times with a 7-lot development, you have a cul-de-sac here, you're having the access off of Emily and on Ann Street. The stormwater facilities are not in above-ground basins. There's no separate parcel that will be owned and operated by a homeowners association, but nevertheless, there will be an association that's formed so that if there are ever any issues with the stormwater management facilities that are installed, there will be an association that's funded that has the responsibility to maintain those as are approved and developed by the township. Again, everything else is will comply, and our project engineer is going to continue to work with the township through the rest of the approval process and navigating anything that has to be navigated with DEP.
Well, thank you. Do you want to touch on property number 4 in the second lot? I think there has got to do an issue with DEP, a letter.
Yeah, Mr. Greer's referring to is, and that was touched on, that Lot 7
Right.
is subject to approvals from DEP in order for it to be developed with single-family homes.
This lot right here.
And so any condition of recommended approval should be made that be obtained prior to any issuance of any building permits on that lot. And the other item to just touch on briefly is there has been some interest expressed by the applicant to, instead of waiting for that 7th lot approval from DEP, because the timing is unknown, to proceed with a subdivision, either it be a phased approval, phased plan, meaning, you know, basically you get the whole project approved, but you can only proceed with lots 1 through 6 for construction, and lot 7 would be sort of held in abeyance or
Yeah.
a note added to the plan.
Yeah, so because of the location of the floodplain on Lot 7, which is also why Lot 7 is larger than the other lots, we have to procure, in addition to the standard township approvals, outside agency approval to permit the construction. They need to make sure that everything is engineered and designed correctly and then issue the approval for that home to be built. So what Mr. Schroeder is referencing is we have to go through the subdivision process, and what we're seeking approval for is to have the lots created, and if this particular parcel, if the dialogue is ongoing between the project engineer, the township engineer, and DEP, we will have either a restrictive covenant or a plan note that's recorded that restricts any site work or development on this lot until the appropriate documentation is provided to the township. So even if the approval is issued, we do not have the ability to proceed at our own discretion. That is governed by the township saying, okay, we're satisfied that the documentation's been provided, DEP satisfied that the appropriate analysis has been conducted, and then that will trigger us to allow to build building permits, pull building permits, and other associated documentation with the township to facilitate the construction of that lot. If those approvals are still outstanding, what would happen is these 6 homes would be constructed, and if the approval never comes through, in a hypothetical way for Lot 7, there will never be a house that's built there. So I would suggest that there is no risk to the township in terms of conditioning the approval, because construction only commences if the appropriate documentation is provided to Mr. Schroeder's satisfaction.
Thank you, and I appreciate the explanation, because I did want to have that on record, that we did discuss this particular issue. And is there anything else, Mike?
No, there's nothing else. We're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay,
Thank you.
Commissioners, you've heard the presentation. Do you have any comments or questions? Bob? Kurt?
Nothing.
Thank you. With that, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. In regards to subdivision, New Horizon Property Management, Inc., 1909 Veterans Highway, Bristol, requesting preliminary final subdivision, approval to construct 7 single-family detached dwellings with stormwater management on the property located at 1020 Ann Street, Croydon, tax parcel number 05-053-034 and 05-053-035 in an R3 residential zone district. We would recommend to council to approve that, with also the waivers that are requested, which are listed on page 2 of the Gilmore and Associates letter dated May 21st, and also with the following notation, that any development would be restricted on Lot 7 until the appropriate documentation has been received, submitted to the township engineer, and approved.
Very good, thank you.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Having nothing else on our agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.